So, we've got to ask, was there a sit-down? Has the word gone out that Don Corleone Cuomo is now done? The cover-up around Andrew Cuomo and the exposing of the cover-up, it's not going away. Now, I have to tell you, as one who spent most of his life in New York, we knew that there was a there. There was never any question about that. When it first came to light that Cuomo may have cooked the books regarding the nursing home deaths and the number and the lack of accuracy, I think there were a lot of us that just instinctively knew, especially if you're from New York, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you just knew, yeah, of course he did it. That's the Cuomo family. But obviously, having lived in New York for a lot of my life before I lived in Florida for 8 years and now live in Ohio, I can tell you that there was also that cynicism in the back of my mind that, okay, like the Clinton crime family, the Bush crime family, etc., 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 okay, yeah, we know, but nothing's going to happen. Like, nothing happened to Hunter. Nothing will happen to Andrew. And then the more the story kept building and it kept continuing to come out, I had to start wondering, well, is there really some legs to this thing? Or is this yet another Democratic ploy where they make it seem like they're angry, they make it seem like they're outraged, they make it seem like they want this dealt with, but in the end, it's all just a dog and pony show, and eventually he'll be exonerated and it'll all be wonderful again. Well, the more that the New York Times and the New York Post, and now you've got the Albany Times Union, which is the paper of record for the Capital District, and that's where I lived for nearly 40 years of my life, I can tell you this is huge. This is big. And I'm making a bold prediction. Cuomo's done. Now, no, they don't have a recall there like they do in California, and the California recall, that's going to happen. There's a serious Republican with some deep pockets who is going to make this happen in California. I mean, Newsom is done. He has basically put his head in his own noose, and he going to hang himself. And there's actually a biblical reference to that. And boys and girls, there's a little bit of homework for you. Who was it that ended up hanging by their own gallows? You can text me that message later. But Andrew Cuomo could face impeachment. You have Democrats that are now saying, hey, hold it. This has to be looked at. This has to be taken seriously. One of the first Democrats to blow the whistle on all this was Ron Kim, an assemblyman. He felt that the math wasn't adding up, that something wasn't right, and despite the fact that initially the CDC was offering vague guidelines to not overwhelm hospitals, that nursing homes may need to be used. It was also with a whole list of criteria regarding what those nursing homes could be and couldn't be. They had to have a designated, segregated, isolated COVID unit. None of which Andrew Cuomo enforced in New York. He simply, by decree, because after all, he is the wannabe mob don who just thinks that he just gives the word and snaps his fingers and it's going to be done. He ordered nursing homes to take people. Didn't matter whether they were prepared for it or not. Didn't matter whether they had an isolated, designated COVID area where recovering patients could be. That didn't matter. They were ordered. They had to. He denies that now. And it was Assemblyman Ron Kim who said, wait a minute, we've got your order from March of 2020. You absolutely did order this. And the numbers aren't making sense here. And he was pushing and pushing on it, and Cuomo called him one night, tore into him, threatened him.
Governor Cuomo called me the next day at 8 p.m. while I was about to bathe my kids. I was with my wife, and for 10 minutes, he berated me, he yelled at me, he told me that my career will be over. He's been biting his tongue for months against me. And I had tonight, not tomorrow, tonight, to issue a new statement, essentially asking me to lie, and asking me, like, I heard and I saw a crime the other day. And he's asking me that I did not see that crime. And that was the line that a line that he crossed that can't be undone. And that's why I had no choice but to come out and speak up.
Boy, some of you are going to get upset that you're sounding stereotypical and you're being, I don't even know what the word for it is, mafia-phobic, Italian-phobic. You're stereotyping, but doesn't this sound like the behavior of a character on The Sopranos? I'm sorry, and not even a real Don. See, a real Don, they know how to get things done without ever actually drawing attention to themselves, without, actually getting caught in a way that they could be exposed for what they're doing. No, this has all the earmarks that little man Cuomo, who suffering from big man syndrome, he's a capo in somebody's crew, but he wants to be the guy. And all I could think of is some of these underlings under Tony Soprano on the TV show The Sopranos, who were, they could just, at the snap of a finger, just go absolutely sociopath, sadistic on someone. So he calls this poor guy up who's home in the evening with his wife, bathing his kids, get him ready for bed, and gets berated. Well, Mayor Bill DeBlasio, yes, the socialist, the guy who's absolutely single-handedly destroyed New York City along with the help of Governor Cuomo, we know that there's absolutely no love lost between the two of them. They don't like each other. And the real reason they don't like each other, it's really pretty simple. Bill de Blasio really is a radical leftist. I mean, he is a Kool-Aid drinking, all-in progressive. He is. Andrew Cuomo is not, but he plays one on television. Andrew Cuomo is your typical heavy-fisted Democrat machine, Democrat elite, old guard who believes in the Democrat machine and believes that you tell the libloons and the progressives what they want to hear so that you get voted in, but it's all about you. It's all about you having power. It's all about you living by decree. You give them the things that they want. You gave them the most radical abortion anywhere in the country, in the state of New York, et cetera, et cetera. You mouthpiece all the stuff about women's rights, et cetera, et cetera. You mouthpiece all of the stuff about that the LGBT community wants to hear, despite the fact that when you ran your Dan's mayoral campaign in New York City against Ed Koch, it was you, Andrew Cuomo, who came up with the catchy little campaign slogan, "Vote for Cuomo, not the homo." But I digress. Bill de Blasio is an all-in ideologue of the progressive left. Andrew Cuomo is not. He is just your typical tax and spend liberal Democrat who will live like a king while insisting you live like a peasant to save the planet. That's Andrew Cuomo. And so these two butt heads over, I guess I would have to say it this way, of all the things that Bill de Blasio is not, like, rationally sane and good for America and good for an economy and a friend to capitalism, he is none of those things. But he is a true believer in what he stands for. Unlike Bernie Sanders, who sells out every election cycle to get himself a new home. De Blasio is all in, he believes it. And so he has been at war with Andrew Cuomo. And so Bill de Blasio appeared on the morning schmuck, Mr. Magoo, who's tried to make himself look really smart by putting glasses on, and he's got his pole dancing co-host of a wife on there with him, Mika Brzezinski. And Mika asked Bill de Blasio, does this sound like the behavior of Governor Cuomo, that he would actually call up a member of the Democratic Party, an assemblyman, and berate him like this? He wouldn't do that, would he?
Yeah, it's a sad thing to say, Mika, but that's classic Andrew Cuomo. a lot of people in New York State have received those phone calls. The bullying is nothing new. I believe Ron Kim, and it's very, very sad. No public servant, no person who's telling the truth should be treated that way. But yeah, the threats, the belittling, the demand that someone change their statement right that moment, many, many times I've heard that, and I know a lot of other people in this state have heard that.
And Mayor Bill DeBlasio says, yeah, sorry, Mika, he did it. Mika had one of those moments like in the movie 8 Men Out, the little kid that, when he found out that, Shoeless Joe Jackson and Buck Weaver and all of them threw the World Series so that they could make a few bucks and punish Comiskey of the Chicago White Sox. And the little kid looks up at Shoeless Joe Jackson and says, say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so. Did you see Mika's eyes? When Bill DeBlasio said, yeah, this is absolutely standard Andrew Cuomo behavior. Take a look at this clip and watch her eyes.
Yeah, it's a sad thing to say, Mika, but that's classic Andrew Cuomo. A lot of people in New York State have received those phone calls.
No, he's a liberal Democrat. That means he walks on water and he defecates marble and everything that comes out of his mouth is pure as the new fresh fallen snow. He can't possibly be a politician. And not just a politician, but it's obvious that the Cuomo family desperately needs anger management.
I thought that's who you were.
No, punk-ass bitch from the right called me Fredo. My name is Chris Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN.
You're much...
Fredo is from The Godfather. He was that weak brother.
Isn't that your
and
brother?
And they used it as an Italian aspersion. Any of you Italian? Are you Italian? It's a f***ing insult to your people. It's an insult to your people. It's like the N-word for us. Wow. Is that a cool thing?
You're a much more reasonable guy in person than you seem to be on television.
Yeah, but if you want to play, then we'll play. If you got something you want to say about what I do on television, then say it. But don't call me.
Hey, listen.
What?
I don't want any problems.
Yeah, you're gonna have a big problem.
What's the problem?
It's a little different on TV. You insult me like that.
I didn't insult you.
You call me Fredo. It's like I call you punk. You like that? You want that to be your nickname?
I didn't call you that.
You called me Fredo. You know my name's not Fredo.
I thought your name was.
You did not think my name was Fredo. Don't be a liar. You want to be a man, stand up like a man.
I'm standing up, man.
You want to be a man, I'm here. Then own it. Then own what you said.
Hey.
Then own what you said.
Listen, man.
Yeah, what?
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb. I'm smart and I want respect.
Yes, Fredo Cuomo, who has threatened to beat people up for calling him Fredo. Part of that clip that got cut was, he threatened to throw the guy down the stairs and stomp on him and basically beat him up. Wow. Apparently he did that during the whole COVID lockdown. Remember when he quarantined himself to his wife's basement and every night we were treated on CNN to him broadcasting live from his basement? And then there was the big episode where after 2 weeks he was finally allowed to come out of the basement. The problem was a week before he got outed, I believe it was by the New York Post that reported on, he had actually left his basement, was out and about, and he had gone down to the island to check on his summer home when somebody from the area recognized him and said, hey, you're supposed to be in quarantine. You're not supposed to be out and about. And Fredo threatened to beat him up. I mean, this is just the Cuomos, like their daddy, they run New York like they are a mafia family, and New York is there to be their personal piggy bank, their little cash cow. Case in point, New York, obviously a very heavily Democrat state, but it's old Democrat. It's blue-collar Democrat. It's the Democrats of Franklin Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy type Democrats. Now, these are people, because remember, you have to keep in mind, if you're not from there, there's two New Yorks. You have the city, and then you have upstate. Now, the city, in particular Manhattan, yeah, it's absolute libloon land. No doubt about it. Every type of geek, freak, and weirdo And every leftist far-out Funko idea that seems to originate in California, trust me, it probably had its real origins in Manhattan. It then got transplanted to California, used as the test market, the place of the guinea pigs, and then 5 years later it comes back to New York so it can then, like a virus, spread throughout the nation. That's how it works. But upstate New York, a lot of it is very rural. It's incredibly beautiful. The Adirondack Mountains, I think they're nicer than the Tennessee Rockies, personally. It's beautiful country, especially during the fall, during the foliage. Breathtaking colors. It's gorgeous. But you have upper upstate, Buffalo region up near Niagara Falls and the Canadian border. Your typical old blue-collar type, old dirty northern city. But I noticed something when I went back for a visit in 2017. There were Trump flags and signs everywhere in the city of Buffalo. See, upstate New York has been absolutely thrashed and trashed since the days of the original Cuomo administration. They have never had an economic rebound, ever. And especially in the parts of New York just above Albany, places like Amsterdam, Johnstown, Gloversville, Fort Plain, Canajoharie, St. Johnsville, Little Falls, Herkimer, all up through there up to Syracuse. They have been just in an economic recession. That place looks like the Ozarks. It's just depressed, no jobs. Their dream is to get a job at a Walmart distribution center because, wow, it pays. Everything, it's awful. But yet, Cuomo and his henchmen, they keep turning up the taxes. They bleed upstate New York, and the upstate New York people know they don't reap the benefits of any of those taxes. It all goes south to fund that cesspool called New York City. That's the truth. And you have two New Yorks at play here. And upstate New York, if you ever really look at a map, I would challenge you to even look at the last two presidential election cycles. I can guarantee you everything above New York City went straight red and voted Donald J. Trump. I have said before, and I'm going to say it again, if anybody would ever do a real investigation into New York voting, I think you would find out that maybe, just maybe, Donald Trump actually won New York. But see, it's not even contested. Nobody even thinks that. It's just assumed that New York is automatically bang Democrat. Well, you got the city. That doesn't mean that everybody in the city votes. It's an assumption. And so because it's an assumption, they can create an illusion. If somebody with an enterprising entrepreneurial spirit, a little bit of investigative curiosity, ever went digging, wouldn't it send shockwaves around the nation if we found out that New York voted for Donald Trump? Why not? Ronald Reagan carried New York. Bump, ba-dum, bump. And trust me, upstate New York, they hate Andrew Cuomo. Hate him. He's, in their mind, he is the far left. He is a libloon. In reality, he is a tyrant. That is exactly what he is. And now the fact that you have Democrats coming out and you have lying legacy, corporate, corrupt, mainstream media, you got the New York Times running articles about this. The New York Post. Morning Schmuck, that's PMSNBC. Now CNN is in an awkward position because of, well, Chris Fredo. They don't know quite what to do because they need to cover it because it's actual news, but they got this problem that the governor's brother's one of their hosts. But obviously somewhere there's been a sit down and they decided he gotta go. It doesn't matter that he's a made man, a made governor. He gotta go. He's bad for business right now. He's bad for the brand. And it's obvious that in his glaring arrogance of trying to be the darling of the liberal Democrats, having aspirations bigger than New York, that he played for the TV cameras, got his Emmy, He's becoming like so many. We send them off to Vegas, we send them out to Hollywood, and all of a sudden they think they're movie stars and they're famous. Well, they gotta go. Andrew, you gotta go. You've been skimming. And now the businesses are leaving left and right and nobody's coming back. There's no more tax base. We got nothing. You're living like a king. If I were you, I'd check your bed at night to make sure there aren't any horse heads in it. The beginning of the end of Andrew Cuomo when it comes to his political clout and power. Stick a fork in him. He's done, baby. That said, I'm done with this rant for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Check us out on Rumble. And hey, Parler's back. It's back. It's on. I'm posting. Join us over there. Make sure you smack the bell, click the word all to get notifications of my next rant.